today we got a super special replay, the most famous position 5 player ever to exist, who is Puppey. This man has been playing 5 since the dawn of time, I believe. And we're gonna see how he moves around the map, how he plays his laning stage especially. I think that's the most important part when you're playing position 5, is like how you play your laning stage. And then secondly, how you move around the map. And then third is like probably actually the most like highest priority or the most important role of position 5 is how you ward. This game, he got a Sage Mask level 1 for tangles. This gives a mana regen. It's really nice. I've been doing this too lately. I really like the early Sage Mask. It gives you 1 mana regen. It's really nice. So he went top, he planted a ward. So this ward will see like any rotations from the position 4, but also if somebody blocks his camp. And then that way, if he sees someone block the camp, he can just go and deward that easily. His other support this game is a Chen playing in the off lane. So here he puts the ward top, he goes to the bottom rune, wants to secure the bottom rune with his team. Since securing top rune would be very difficult to do. Notices that nobody else is there, he's just going to take the rune and casually walk back to the top lane. Alright, here we go. So now he's back to the top lane, right as soon as the lane starts. And you can see his positioning, he's just chilling behind the carry and hitting the enemy support. So this is a really important thing when you're playing position 5. And what Puppey does here, it's super key. He skills up his stun here, and he really wants to secure this range creep. Like, he wants to make sure that creep never gets denied. So he throws a coconut on it, and he tells the Morphling to hit it. You can even see the ping, and then they get the range creep together. Now, if your teammate doesn't understand what you're doing, you might not want to do those things, but at high MMR gameplays, supports do that quite a lot, where they cast spells on the range creep just to make sure that it doesn't get denied. And you can see his positioning. He just positioned to the opposite of the Winter Wyvern and just keep hitting the enemy core or the support here. Throws a coconut just for the stun and a little bit of harass. Not bad. Sometimes I've also seen Puppey go like Maledict level 1, but in this situation he's playing against Ember and Wyvern, and because he needed that range creep, he skilled up the coconut there just to get the creep secured. And you can see like throughout this entire time he just keeps running around in this area here. He had to skill the heal because he started getting low HP. And this Voodoo Restoration is really nice to keep your carry healed up, and at the same time, because he has the Sage Mask and he bought like so much mana regen, it's so good to just leave it on and regen yourself up, which means like in your lane you're gonna have more sustain than the enemy. Like this Phoenix and Ember, sorry, the Wyvern and Ember can only gain HP back from eating Tangles and Flask unless the Wyvern skills Embrace, which won't happen. So this is like the factor in the lane where you can have pretty much more sustain your enemy. And in this kind of lane, all he's thinking about is how to secure farm for his Morph. Because Morph, the moment he hits like level 3, level 4, he becomes unkillable in this lane. So he's just focused on harassing, denies, and just skilling up his heal so that he can keep his Morphling high health. Here he gets a little bit out of position, gets casting spells on. But one thing to remember is if the enemy is casting spells on you, that means they're not casting spells on your carry. So your carry has all the freedom in the lane to farm. We can see here he has 13 lasses. He's doing perfectly fine. And now that he ran out of mana and there's not much to do and the wave is pushed out, that's the time he goes and does the pull. If the wave is over here, Puppey's not going to go and pull. He's just going to fight with his carry. So here the Morphling gets caught out a little bit, but that's kind of like the problem with the Morph because the Witch Doctor is going to pull the lane back. But, you know, because Morph is already level 3, they don't really kill him. In fact, they just waste a lot of time and they take more damage because the Morphling just turn around and hit the Ember. And here, after he does the pull, he just goes back and helps the Morphling because he was getting gone on. Now, if the Morphling was not getting gone on, he would have stayed here and would have farmed the pull and get more XP, right? Pulls are all about getting more XP than your enemy, but at the same time also pulling the lane back into a position where you're the one who can chase them down. So if the lane is over here, you can always chase down the enemy all the way until here without getting into tower range, and you can kill them. And at the same time, the enemy can't chase you into the tower because you're already, you know, they can't harass you that much because you're already in front of the tower if you pull the lane back.
Time to move.
But you don't really want to pull unless your lane is starting to push already, because if you pull when the lane is pushing into you, you will just make your carry tank like 6-7 creeps, and if both of the heroes on the enemy side is going to dive you. The offlaner and the enemy support is going to dive your carry, then your carry is going to not get any last hits, and you just throw your lane as a support. So you can see like Puppey, he never went to pull this when the wave was right here. He only went to pull this when the wave was up down here already. So now he just keeps using his voodoo restoration. Like this entire laning stage, I feel like his priority is just keep using the voodoo, heal up his morphling, keep him topped off. Enemy keeps going on Puppey, and then Puppey's like, well, I don't care. I got this heal running all the time. Now he finishes a Bassi, it also gives mana regen to the morphling. And this morphling also has like 10 denies. So here they try to pull, he stops the pull here just by hitting the creeps one time. And we can see like he's not going out of position in this lane to like harass people. He's like kind of sitting beside the morphling. So because he knows against Ember or Wyvern, if you go a little bit out of position, you can easily die. There were situations where he could have died, but you know, he didn't do it. So here you can see like he's thinking about pulling, then he decided against it, right? He was thinking about pulling, but then he sees the wave. He's like, oh, wait a minute, there's like 3 creeps here. If I pull this right now, maybe my morphling might get pressured. So he doesn't do it. Very, very simple. This is a mistake almost every position 5 player does, where they pull in situations where they shouldn't.
You think I'm cool?
So the enemy does a pull here. He goes back. Just wants to clear some of these creeps. Sees a low HP Dark Troll. Now this coconut spell does stun the creeps for 5 seconds. So Morphling just gonna farm that up. Everything he's done so far in the lane is pretty much to secure this Morphling's farm. And here you see where the wave is. Up here, instantly goes and pulls the next wave. So the wave will automatically run all the way until here because there's no more creeps to hold them over here. And the Morphling is going to be able to farm up here in a very safe position instead of being up here and farming instead. How does he manage to harass and not mess up equilibrium? He stays outside the range. So if the creep wave is here, if you stay here, creep aggro range is like 500. Witch Doctor attack range is like 600. So as long as you're outside of the aggro range, you can always just hit the enemy. That comes with practice, and you have to practice to be able to do that properly. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So he does a pull, the creep wave comes back, yep. And then Morphling, all he has to do is just be patient, right? This Morphling messes up. All Morphling has to do in this situation, when the support is pulling, you need to tell your carry, hey, wait under the tower, the creep wave will come to you. This Morphling was here, so he got caught out a little bit, so he's going to take a lot of damage. But he's the one trying to kill the Ember. Doesn't get the last hit yet. Ember gets healed up now, since Wyvern is level 4. And Puppey's like, alright, well, we can chase this guy down. Sure, why not? And the Ember dodges the spell. Crystal Maiden also rotated top. And the Morphling is going to get out, and the Ember also dies here. Very nicely done. And he actually scales up his paralyzing cast this game, the coconuts. He wants more disables, obviously. And this spell can also help you push out lanes. So now he has no resources, no health, no mana. Instantly goes back to base. Doesn't waste any time sitting under the tower or something when he needs to be full mana, full HP again so he can have impact in this game. And the enemy Morphling just sitting behind, his teammate Morphling just sitting in the tower and just trying to soak up what he can. So now there's 3 heroes top. Let's see what he does next. He buys Boots of Speed with his next 500 gold after the Bassi. Buys a ward, buys 2 sentries. Now, sentries are like support's biggest tool because sentries can give you gold, it can give you experience, and at the same time, when you deward the enemy, and at the same time, it removes enemy vision. So here, he puts a sentry here just in case there's a ward in the lane. Doesn't see a ward. He also has a sentry here from earlier, making sure that nobody can dive the top lane. And everything up until this 8.5 minutes, all he's done is pretty much play for his Morphling. He knows that if he secures a Morphling's farm, this Morphling will carry him later. And he plays like this within his own team as well. So here he puts another sentry behind the tower. He's really looking for these wards. And he's making sure that the enemy cannot see this lane whatsoever. Because if they can see him, then they can dive, right? So here he goes on the Witch Doctor, but instead he's the one who dies because he can't see the Crystal Maiden. The Timber TP's top. And they will kill the Ember because he is only level 5. And that's fine because they get the Wyvern, they get the Ember, and or the Wyvern Wyvern dies somewhere else. So yeah, Ember dies there, and they're okay with that trade. And now you can see as soon as he's dead, like he's thinking where to go next, right? Because his team they already got top covered. Ember just died. Now if you look on the map, he sees that there's nobody middle except for like the Timber who was there earlier. So he decides to TP middle, and he TPs on the tier 2 so he doesn't die to the monkey on the tier 1 tower. And he just leaches some experience here. 10 minutes, he's almost level 6 already, even without eating the tome. Because he got a lot of XP in the lane top and from the pulls that he did. And he's just like casually sitting in the mid lane, making sure the mid lane cannot be pressured by the Monkey King. Because the Timber did TP top lane, so he's like making up for the Timber's rotation by going to the mid lane. And now the Tusk also comes here to help him, and he's like, alright, well, I got nothing to do middle anymore since there's other core heroes here. I'm just gonna walk back top and plant a ward here, because top lane is pretty much a lane that the enemy wants to attack, because that's where my Morphling is. And I'm just gonna give some vision so that my Morphling cannot get ganked. And he also does a pull here, because again, the wave is pushed out, and he wants some more XP. And you can see he didn't really take the tome this game. He'd probably give it to the other support, Chen. He's level 7.5 now. As a position 5, you don't end up taking the tomes. Unless a position 5 is very high leveled, and then you really need to get the tome. Because you're like low level, because maybe you died a little too much in the lane. And you can see here, he's just pulling for his experience. Now, a lot of supports, they don't know like where to pull. Or where to go to get XP. If you don't know where to go to get XP, just go to the safe lane and start pulling camps. And like you'll get XP naturally. Especially like after 7 minutes. Something like that. And that's how he got his level 6 now, right? Level 6, he's got 2-1-2. He took the Maledict because he wants to be able to kill this tanky Monkey King this game. And here, the enemy is all bottom. There's like 4 heroes there, so he TP's bottom. He's prepared to sit behind the tower and ready to relieve the pressure from this lane. Or counter gank if they start diving. And you can see him, like he's not sitting at the tower, he's like staying in a position where he can't get dove. He went and looked around if like there's somebody else coming from the side here. And now the Morphling has decided to TP bottom because he sees that there's people starting to rotate top already. And the Morphling at the bottom lane will be a little bit more difficult to kill. And this way they can take the bottom tower. In high MMR games, most of the time, the enemy safe lane tower is the first one dying. And that's where most people also TP and fight to. So here, Puppey smokes up his Tusk. You can see his next item he got was Tranquil Boots, so he got more movement speed and some regen. And the Timber's getting gone on. They thought about helping him, but he died before they could even get there. And then now the Juggernaut doesn't have spin anymore, and they were thinking about ganking him, but it didn't happen anymore. They just couldn't find the angle for it. So now they've completely invaded the bottom jungle, and Puppey is just going to chill out, go to mid lane, defend that tower. Timber is still dead, so it's like, so early game he was helping his Morphling as much as he can. In the mid game, he's not making like some drastic moves to kill people. He's more focused on like protecting his allies and making sure they don't die, or defending the towers. So those are his 2 priorities, right? His teammates and towers, and not really like trying to kill people as this Witch Doctor. Because Witch Doctor is really good when the enemy is diving into you and then you throw the cask, and he's not as good when you're the aggressor in these kind of situations. And the enemy is the one who's like very, very aggressive. They got a lot of heroes who want to fight all the time. So you can see here, like, look at his positioning. He's always sitting behind his teammates and waiting for the opportunity to like counter fights. And he's got wards again, like non-stop. He's always buying the wards and a couple sentries, so he can always like try to deward the enemy as well. So let's see what he does with his next 2 wards. So his teammates have already covered the mid lane, taking the tier 1 tower. And here we can see his next ward he puts up is gonna be down. Oh no, he's just checking if there's an angle to go on the Juggernaut. No angle to go on Juggernaut. Plants a ward down the hill here, so you can see anybody who goes to the tier 2 tower bottom. And it looks like, so when you plant vision, it's very important that you're planting wards at your next point of attack. And that's what he did here. Like, he put this ward bottom. It's like trying to tell his team, like, guys, let's play down in this bottom area. Let's kill this tower bottom, or if anybody comes bottom into this vision, we will kill them. That's what they're doing. And the reason why he didn't put the ward on this hill is because most of the time what happens is people put sentries like down here that barely angles this hill, or down here that will angle this hill. Now they can also put the sentry on this hill too, but in this situation, if they put a sentry here or here that barely clips the hill to make a more efficient sentry, this ward will not be killed off. You'll see a lot of professional players, they oftentimes don't put vision on hills because they're way too easy to get dewarded. So here we go. His teammates are diving because they have the vision from this ward here. They kill the CM off, and here you can see Puppey just chilling behind his teammates, waiting for the angle to go on something. He casts his spells and instantly starts running away. He knows that the enemy team always wants to kill him, right? Like you play, I'm sure you guys have played position 5 and like you're just getting focused all the time. So cast your spells, get out. And here you can just see that the more times you cast your spell and get out, the more chances you have to cast more spells after that. And here again, he casts another stun, and with that stun and Maledict, they were able to get this kill on the Wyvern this time. And that's only because he didn't stay in that fight and start right-clicking people. If he did that, he probably would have died to the Ember Spirit or something. And next ward he put into the enemy base. So this ward oftentimes gets almost never dewarded. That's very nice. And here they go on the Crystal Maiden. They get a kill. But, you know, it's high ground at 50 minutes. It's too early. The glyph just pushes them off, and they're just gonna back off after that. So this ward can give information as to who's going to what lane when they leave the base, and at the same time it can give vision of couriers. Maybe someone will snipe the courier if they see one. So here, next item he's queuing up is a Eul's. I think this Eul's can help him live longer, but at the same time, if you look at the enemy draft, they have a Monkey King who he can dispel the Jingu Mastery, Ember Spirit, he can dispel Flame Guard later. And against the Juggernaut, if he Omni Slashes Puppey, he can just Eul's up in the air and tank all the Omni Slash. So again, more wards, smoke, Windlace. It's really important that you buy all these, like, you know, utility items. Or sorry, these like utility stuff. Like nobody else is gonna pretty much buy any team like wards and smokes. As a position 5, like that's your duty. To do so. So you can see like more, even though his team is snowballing, like he doesn't really care about getting his own items. He cares more about actually having wards and smokes always available. And here his team is going again, same thing every time. It's always the same thing. Sit behind your cores and wait for them to either engage or the enemy engages on your cores, and then you counter gank, right? You counter initiate with your coconut. And apart from that, just chill and plant vision, sentry. Always, as a support, you always like look at other support hero and see like how many wards they have and where they're moving on the map as well. That's extremely important. So here the Juggernaut comes in from behind, Omni Slashes him, and none of the jumps go to the Chen, so he kind of dies, and they killed both of them. Unfortunately, both of the supports die here, and his teammates, like, one of the issues in this fight was that he had no vision here. Right, so he couldn't see the Juggernaut that came from behind, and he sort of just died. And that happens as a position 5, right? Enemy Juggernaut is always looking to freaking Omni Slash you. So it's very important to like have vision of him, or if not, you gotta play much safer. When he revives, goes back to the mid lane. The lanes are pushing into his team, just pushes that stuff out with the coconut. Okay, so here he has ward 3 sentries. Now you can see on the map they have no vision pretty much anymore. So just to get some vision out on the map, he plants a ward here, and this will help see. So here he first plants a sentry and then plants a ward to make sure that the enemy cannot see that he planted a ward there. So after the ward, this will help see if like anybody's rotating behind him or anything like that, and just to get some vision out on the map. So if the enemy does try to do Roshan at some point too, they have this vision that can help as well. Because the map was very, very dark, and he didn't want to walk into like this no vision area and just die again to like an Ember or Juggernaut the same way he did last time. So sometimes like 10% of vision in like any random area sometimes just feels better than no vision on the map. Like that's something like it's worth understanding as a support as well. Because it just makes you feel more comfortable knowing that the enemy is not there, or if they are there, you know how many heroes are probably around that area too. Like you can see here, his Tusk wants to play very aggressively, and Puppey just kind of follows him into battle, and the Tusk just dies. So it's like as soon as he notices the Tusk is by himself and there's too many heroes, he just gets the hell out of there. I'm sure Puppey right now is very upset that this Tusk is kind of just throwing the game, and now the Morphling's getting going on, and he's trying to see the angle where like he can try and help this Morphling get out of the fight. Look how he's positioned. He's positioned behind the Morph and the Timber. He's not just going in to stun people. He just wanted to see like when the perfect timing to throw that cast, and he can just run right after it. This entire game has just been Puppey like throwing cask and running from the fights, if like it doesn't look like a good situation to be in. Now they smoke up, they go into the Roshan pit, Chen has Dominator Mech, and then he just uses the Voodoo Restoration, the level 1 that he had. The level 1 very effective, does heal for quite a bit, and just healing up his team inside the Roshan pit, so if a fight does break out, his team is still full HP. And they would just get a Roshan like that. Very nice. And that's from his smoke. He's the one who smoked that and sent his team to the Roshan pit. Here, the enemy find him. He was trying to go top to get the lane out, but you know, gets caught out by a monkey and juggle. But it looks like they will get a return kill on the enemy Winter Wyvern, so that's still very nice. So let's see what he does next. He gets a Ghost Scepter, so instead of going for the Yules, which is much more expensive, so when he was deciding to go Yules, they were at the bottom tier 3, like, owning. They thought they were gonna, like, snowball this game, but then Radiant came back, they started killing people one by one, the game started falling apart a little bit, and here he just goes for the Ghost Scepter instead, because it gives them an instant item, and it's really good against Monkey and Juggernaut. Both are all right clickers. And here he pushes bottom out, asks Chen to TP him to the mid lane, and now they're 5 instantly. So it's very important that as a support, when there's any opportunity for you to push out lanes, you should just do it and then instantly join your team again, if possible. Because pushing lanes up is always going to give information for your team. And now they're just trying to go as 5, and he's just playing with his team here. He plants a sentry here. It's gonna block the camp. And then he plants a ward here as well. So this ward is for the future. It's gonna help him take this team fight top lane. But at the same time, if somebody will walk to the top lane to split push later in the game, they will be able to say this. And if at some point in the game they need to smoke, they can see someone on this ward here, right? And then they can just smoke from like here to here, like catch someone, like intercept them. After that, and they just keep trying because they're playing like this Witch Doctor like Chen combo. It's really good at pushing towers because they have a lot of heals and sustain. And again, same positioning over and over again, guys. This is the most important thing when you play position 5. Stay behind your cores, right, and wait for the right opportunities to cast your spells. So you can see here, he's waiting ever so patiently. He's not running in. He's not doing anything crazy. He knows, because if you see from his perspective, he sees the monkey not jumping in whatsoever. You know why? Because the monkey wants to kill Puppey. That's his eyes. His eyes are looking at Puppey the whole time. So Puppey is like, well, I'm not going in there if the monkey ain't going in there. Because if Puppey doesn't go in and monkey doesn't go in, that's a win for you, right? So the right opportunity is soon coming. The enemy team has committed almost everything, and then he's just gonna throw a casual cask when they're focusing the timber, and he's just gonna get out of this fight, right? So in most supports feed, the reason why they feed is because they're just running in. As soon as they see a fight break out, they just run in, they just start tossing their spells, and then they just die because the enemy core just turns and kills them instantly. But if you see Puppey, who's been playing position 5 for like over 10 years at the highest possible level, like, you don't see him running in and casting spells all the time. He's just waiting for the right chance to do so. Now he just picks up the bounty rune, dewards the sentry, sees a wave pushing on mid lane, sees his team is on the top lane. He's just going to throw a cask if ever he needs to. He doesn't want to expose his positioning. Plants a ward on the bottom area of the map. Want to see if there's still a bounty there. Doesn't see the bounty. And also this ward is going to help see, you know, 10% more of this map. It's going to be nice to see if anybody's actually split pushing to the bottom also. Because of the positioning in the game that they're in, I probably wouldn't have worded this myself. I think I would have saved the word and like planted it somewhere a bit more aggressive in this game, because he doesn't really have any more words left. But yeah, he wanted to just plant this word to see if there was a bounty and if there's other heroes just lingering here. Maybe there's a Monkey King and you can catch the monkey, right? But here, the monkey tried to go on Puppey, and Puppey was kind of just baiting, and his team was covering him. And Winter Wyvern casts a spell here to stop going on Monkey, and he's dead. So even though he was pushing the bottom lane now, he knows he won't die because he has a ghost up there. And at the same time, he was calling his team, hey, monkey might be here, might go on me, and then he just baited the monkey, and then the monkey died. And now they're going to catch up Winter Wyvern as well. And when you're overwhelming the enemy, and that's the time when you're a support, you can just run in and just cast whatever spells you want, right? But if a 5v5 team fight is breaking out, don't just run in blindly.
Regeneration.
Here, just in the mid lane, casually pushing some lanes out while his team is bottom. The Chen should be TPing the Witch Doctor in here, but he's not, so Puppey just has to walk into the fight bottom. And the Juggernaut just gonna stun this Jug, but he's spinning. Unfortunately, here comes the Maledict onto the Ember Spirit and instantly starts running away. He wants to get another paralyzing cast off if he can. He sees some of his teammates are dead and it's already time to go. But he will never abandon his team unless everybody's dead or like they're guaranteed to die. But if he has an opportunity to help his team, he's always going to stick around. So the moment those two guys are dead, it's like, okay, we're not staying here anymore. And they already got a tier 3 tower anyway. So now he's got a faded brooch for the mana and movement speed. He can move his quickening charm in once the team fight breaks out, so he has that extra cooldown reduction for his paralyzing cast to go off. Again, more wards, more sentries once again. This time, so here, this is a very important ward, right? Now their focus is on getting the second Roshan, and you can see here he plants a ward in the river here and on the hill here. So now the reason why he plants his ward here is because he can always see the enemy heroes walk into this Roshan pit, and at the same time, sentries that are trying to look for wards on these two hills cannot see this ward, right? So throughout this entire game, we've noticed Puppey put a lot of really weird vision down the hills, but that's mainly because he doesn't want the enemy to de-ward him. But at the same time, it still gives vision of exactly what he wants to see, which is people walking into the Roshan pit.
Got it. Oh boy.
And this means, again, what I said earlier in the game, he's planning, like, Roshan is the next objective for his team, and we're not doing anything else for now, just waiting for this Roshan, and they're controlling the top and mid area of the map, so the enemy can't just walk in and fight them at the Roshan pit easily.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And you can imagine he's communicating like in these kind of situations, right, with his team, what's gonna happen next, and what the plan of action is. So Roshan is up now. His Tusk is getting gone on. Wants to heal him up a little bit. You can see like how he's lingering around here. And that's it. Now you can see the Morphling see somebody else top lane pushing in here. And they're just gonna go back here and do the Roshan because it's up already. And they've already pushed off the enemy from this area of the map. And Puppey is like, you can see like he's like lingering way in the back, making sure that he's ready to just stun the people when they try to attack his team.
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Here they find a monkey, they try to chase him. And his teammate is trying to go very aggressively, and OMG, and there's gonna be a very bad death. So this was the first time in this entire game Puppey died because of positioning. Right here, when he doesn't see anyone, he's walking beside his heroes and running in face first, and this is exactly what he feared. And he just gets ulted by the Winter Wyvern and instantly dies. But the Winter Wyvern also dies. Now this Wyvern is a position 4 hero, so it's much worse for Radiant to lose that Wyvern. But that's his first time he actually got out of position in this game. Now his teammate is pushing. He's going to revive now. He's going to tell his Chen to TP him into the team fight. And nope, he's just going to casually TP bottom. Cask first. Maybe after this, the Chen will TP him? No, the Chen doesn't want to TP him. Interesting. So he just TPs bottom and pushes the lanes out. And he gets an Aeon Disc instead, because this way, even if... Now he gets TP by Chen. Even if he does get Winter Wyvern ulted, he does have the Aeon Disc to help him live through the fight. And this is a very situational item, and he bought this because of the heroes that Radiant have. It's Wyvern, Jug, and Monkey King, and they all can burst very quickly with disables.
Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack. Radiant's bottom.
Again, just chilling in the back of his cores, letting his cores do the stuff, just waiting for the angle to be able to cast his spells. Let's go back here a bit. Monkey King gets exposed by the Timbersaw and the Wyvern as well. He casts a stun onto this Monkey King, cancelling the Monkey's ultimate. And here the Juggernaut goes straight for Puppey with his Swift Slash. And because he had the Nullifier, Puppey could not live through that fight and dies here. And his team is also kind of dying, unfortunately. but they are gonna lose this fight. So let's see what they do now once they're alive. So they do have 2 Raxes though, so they have that map control advantage because of the 2 Raxes they've killed off. So Nullifier, very good item against Aeon Disc, unfortunately. And you can see here, so this is huge, right? When you're cornered in your base like this, it's very important that, like you see here, he buys two wards and 3 sentries while he was dead, and he plants sentries outside of his base. Now these sentries are gonna help see if there's any wards planted inside of their base, so the enemy can't jump his teammates or himself very quickly. And at the same time, he puts 1 ward outside the base, so he can see anyone who's pushing up here, so his team can jump them first. Vision is like everything when it comes to position 5 at this point in the game, right? So this is very important, especially when you're cornered in the base, that you do throw down sentries on both sides of the area that they're trying to push, so there's no vision inside of your base like in these. Here we go. His team runs straight into the enemy jungle, finds a Winter Wyvern. Puppey at this point feeling very strong because he's got this Aeon Disc. He knows like he cannot really die instantly. Now puts a ward on this hill here. So this ward at this moment is going to show people coming from the top area or the mid area of the map. This ward is so valuable, especially if you can protect it and make sure the enemy can't kill it. Such a nice ward. And now they're going straight to the top lane, the only Rax that is left alive in this game. Puts a sentry down the hill here so it cannot be dewarded because he only has 1 sentry left. And that sentry finds the ward here. That gives them some gold as well and XP, and also taking away the vision from the enemy so they cannot jump to support. And because last point he showed himself was here on the ward, he moved to the left side because he knows that the enemy core is always looking to kill him. And he's just making sure that he cannot be jumped. Look at his positioning. He's just allowing his Morphling and Timber to tank everything. And just waiting for the opportunity where the enemy get impatient or they need to jump the cores so he can turn around and cast them. And now they're just waiting maybe for a next Roshan or another pick-off to happen here. Finds a DD, he smokes his team here, has another ward, has another sentry, walks back into the vision that he planted earlier in the game. And doesn't find the pick-off that he was looking for, unfortunately. And this time he plants a ward here. So now in this top lane, if anybody does split push, he will always be able to see them split pushing with this vision, because they've already killed the tier 3 tower as well. If he puts a ward in the base, there's a very good chance there's already sentries here, and it'll just get seen and killed off right away. And now the Morphling just killed both of the Raxes. And the reason why the enemy can't jump this Morphling is because they don't see anyone else, right? If I go Radiant Vision, look at this vision, right? They cannot see anything in this situation because they can't jump anyone like Witch Doctor or Chen or anyone in here. And that's the problem. That's why you position like this, like how Puppey is positioned in this situation. You position yourself way in the back where the enemy can't even see you, and only go in if needed. And now they got Megas. Let's see what's gonna happen next. They could probably just chill out, get the next Roshan if they need to, and then go win this game, or just straight up wait for their items. Fast forward. GG. Alright, what did we learn this game? The most important things that we learned this game in laning, when you're playing with like some hero like Morphling who doesn't really have super high kill potential but becomes stronger in lane and can last it and deny creeps, he just focused on farm, right? This game, Puppey in the laning stage, he was just sitting beside his Morphling, hitting the enemy heroes out of the aggro range, denying. He skilled up heal at level 2, healing his Morphling up so he can deny and get more last hits. After laning stage, his focus was on protecting his teammates or protecting towers in this entire game. And he was not like going into situations on the map and playing super aggressively, because the enemy were the aggressors, right? When the enemy is the aggressor, you're the one who needs to play defensively and counter their aggression so that you have that value, you know? Like if the enemy runs into you, you throw a cast, 2 heroes are going to get chained together. But if you go into the enemy and you throw a cask at one guy and they're the one running away, your cask isn't going to have a lot of value. So that's his main idea with his Witch Doctor and how he played it. And you can see in the fights, he's always going in and out, in and out, in and out of the fights. He's always weaving in and out. He never just committed to a fight, sat there attack someone for no particular reason. He just wanted to maximize how many spells he can throw out in a fight, and the best way to do that is go in, cast your spells, walk out, reassess the situation, and then go in again and cast your next set of spells. And his vision this game was very nice. Like, he put vision in the lanes to see like when they want to take a tower. After they take a tower, the enemy will try to push that lane back and see where they are, so that his team can just like either pick them off or just get simple information. We could see like 2 times he warded around Roshan pit, and his team game plan was pretty much like, okay, take Roshan.